It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony
Everybody
Reale.
calm down. We'll get to all the college basketball in a bit. Odell Beckham Jr. He wants you to consider how you recognize and scrutinize and double standardize demonstrative emotions on the field and sidelines. He posted the 42-second video on Instagram of Tom Brady and him in similar stages of passion, intensity, and fire. He tagged it goat chasing, and it got 1.7 million views in 24 hours. Israel, do you get the point that Beckham is trying to make here?
Yes, I do. But by the way, Tony, it's Art Basel week here in Miami, so everything's just like.
I can't see you. You're camouflaged. I don't even know who you are.
But I will say this about what OBJ said. Listen, I understand what he said. You know, it's about passion, right? It's comparing one versus the other, and you're having these outbursts of passion for the game and how we view one versus the other. And of course, I understand there's going to be a race element to be viewed here and to be discussed here, with OBJ being viewed as kind of the problem and Tom Brady being the leader. That's the barbershop argument, and my counter to that would be, in that same barbershop, which I did have this afternoon, is, listen, there's a track record there. There's a ratio to outbursts versus wins, okay? He's got Tom Brady. He's got the track record that allows him to have these type of outbursts. But I'll also say this. There's a ratio to the outbursts based on the position as well. Quarterbacks handle the ball every play. They are in control. Odell Beckham, super talented, feels a lot of times that he is out of control, or not in control, rather, on the field because he is not given the ball. Therefore, these outbursts, this passion comes out more regularly. So I understand exactly where he's coming from. It's just from the outside looking in, it's, you got to kind of earn your keep.
Not in control of the ball on the field means not in control on the sidelines. I see where you're going there. I asked Bob Ryan this on Monday. Do 5 Super Bowl wins allow Tom Brady to do this but not Odell Beckham? And he kind of dodged that question. But can you answer that, Pablo Torre?
I think there is an element here of Odell Beckham Jr. saying to Tom Brady and everybody else, I learned it from you, Dad. I learned it from you. Because he outed himself as a member of the Tom Brady cult of personality. By the way, many of us are members of that cult of personality, and certainly there is race here, as he mentioned. There is, oh, this guy looks like a malcontent, this guy looks like a leader. Let's try and figure out what's different between them. But in terms of that rings argument, that is real. That is the cult. We are an ends justify the means-based society when it comes to sports. If you win, we will excuse Kobe Bryant being an enormous to everybody in his organization. We will excuse Tom Brady doing the same on the sideline because they have the rings with many Z's at the end.
Jackie McMullen, same question to you.
And I understand where you're coming from, Pablo, and I agree with most of it. I think the difference here is the one I remember, the famous sideline tantrum with Odell Beckham in the net, and the net definitely lost, was this. Odell Beckham was upset because his teammate, Eli Manning, had thrown an interception. So I think the perception among some was you're showing up your teammate when you behave that way. Who is Tom Brady showing up by yelling or having an argument with his offensive coordinator? Josh McDaniels is the target of that ire, and we all know that the close relationship they have. I think Beckham has a point, Tony. I understand where he's coming from. But there is reason to say that the way Tom Brady does it, and after the game, the way Tom Brady handles it, which is always calm, measured, poised, whether we believe that or not, that's how he presents himself. I'm just saying.
But what you also said there, it's okay to yell at your coach, but not okay to yell at your teammate. Well, you said because he has a relationship with Josh McDaniels. Of course.
Okay, but I didn't say it was okay for Tom Brady to yell at his coach, but I think it's different to vent frustration towards someone you're working with on the offense than to kick a net and throw a tantrum because your quarterback made a really bad throw. I do think there is a difference there.
Woody Page, is Beckham making a point to you?
Yes, he really is, Jackie. So it's okay for Tom Brady to go after Josh McDaniels, but if Beckham went after the wide receivers coach and yelled at him like that, that would be unacceptable. Beckham is always portrayed as immature, illogical, not a team player, all about himself. Well, guess what? Tom Brady is allowed to do that, and Beckham's not. So I think he made an exceptional point. He's saying, you are my idol. I'm actually copying everything you do, but yet people treat me differently. I think that obviously after listening to that, sure, we know all that Tom Brady is able to get away with it because he's won all those Super Bowls. But what difference does that make? You still have to have your decorum, and obviously he doesn't, and Beckham, when he doesn't, is treated differently.
Jackie, I want to invite you back in because we did put some words in your mouth here. You can expound.
That's okay. That's what makes this show go round. What I wasn't saying that I think that Beckham, if he was yelling at his receivers coach on the sideline, Woody, I think that's okay in my mind. You're having a dialogue. I think it's different when you're reacting to something your teammate does, a mistake that your teammate makes on the field. Now, if Tom Brady got in the face of one of his teammates, I think it's right to have a discussion about that. And is he showing up his teammate and maybe has a comment post-game to explain why he did that? I think that's all fair game.
Israel, last word.
Yeah, but I think if we look at what Odell has done over time, other than maybe the South Beach thing, which is another thing I'm not going to give him grief for, is it's all been passion-related stuff, like I said. And so, therefore, he sees them as equals, whether it's yelling at a teammate or yelling at a coach. And really, when you are playing football, this passionate sport, I think that's kind of what you want sometimes, right? You need somebody to be that guy.
Heard a lot of passion from another player yesterday as well. Did you guys see Steelers safety Mike Mitchell? He went 4 minutes outside his locker on the league's enforcement of penalties against defenders, against tacklers, and the perceived violence problem the NFL has. Here's just a bit. Listen.
At the end of the day, this is football. If you want to see flag football, then let's take our pads off. That would make it easier for me, because now I don't got to wear heavy But give us flags for me to pull off, because that way I know what we're playing. I feel like I got to ask a guy, hey, are you ready for me to hit you right now before I hit you? And that's crazy. I'm going to mess around and get hurt trying to protect an offensive player because he's running an over route. Damn it, your quarterback shouldn't have threw that ball messed up. So let's not try to turn it into some evil, dirty game. It's football. It's no different than UFC fighting. This is a combat, contact sport. There's going to be injuries.
Jackie, I'll ask you the same question I just asked with Odell Beckham
Right.
Jr. You get the point he's trying to make there?
Some of it I do, especially the part about when a quarterback lays out his receiver, throws a ball that just sets up his receiver to get absolutely crushed.
Hospital pass,
I do
yeah.
understand that because I think that's really hard for a defensive player to anticipate. So I'm with him there. Here's the problem. I don't even really blame Mitchell for what he's saying because this is how he was brought up. This is how football is taught to him. But there's an evolution going on here, Tony, and it's a necessary one. How many more Hall of Fame players do we have to see kill themselves with a shotgun to the chest because they want us to study their brains? That's the single biggest issue in the NFL. It will be for the next 20 years going forward, and changes have to be made. I don't blame Mitchell or Roethlisberger or all the coaches that still say, oh, what's all the big deal about concussions and hits? They just get their bell rung. It's an education that's going to take a lot of time.
Bob Latore, what did you hear from Mitchell yesterday?
I heard maybe the most persuasive argument for the NFL as a sport, as a game, that the NFL as a business can never make on its own behalf. Because what he is saying is, I get the risks. I signed up to hit people as hard as humanly possible. That's what all of my colleagues signed up for, so let us go and do that. And if you are realistic about what football is professionally, that's the game. Now, the problem with that statement and why the NFL can never express that is because he sounds like a boxer. A UFC fighter is what he mentioned, but he sounds like a boxer. And boxing, as we all know, is the sport of the desperate. And it's the sport of the desperate because a lot of parents never want to see their kids enter a game like that. So I get what he's saying. The game is better in the olden times. Better the way we were taught. But as a business, the NFL can't let people be that honest because that means the decline of the sport itself.
Israel Gutierrez, you agree with that?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. In terms of entertainment, in terms of what's more fun, I agree with him 100%. I'd rather watch the game he's talking about. I'd rather play the game he's talking about. But these rules, this game was not sent up to us from on high. We created the rules for this game. And as we evolve, we recognize, oh, wait, maybe it's not a great idea to do this, as Jackie said. And some of Shazier, who was hit in this play, might never play again. And so maybe we adjust the rules. You get paid handsomely to play by these rules. And again, I'm not saying it's the game we all know and love, but it is the game that we are allowed to play right about now. So I get the complaints. I just think that, yeah, it's a game. There are all these rules that are set upon us.
Woody Page.
Jackie's right. It's evolved over the years. I went back after the subject came up and looked at Dick Butkus and some of his highlights. And look what became of Butkus. He was one of those who had a lot of severe injuries as a result of playing in the game. But it speeded up the game. From when I started covering it, it's a much faster game. It's a more talented game. And so you do have to change. In fact, let me mention crackback blocking. That was allowed in the NFL for years and years. Then it was outlawed. And as a result, you don't have those serious knee injuries from the side that you had before. So, yes, you've got to make changes to it. In fact, they're talking about targeting as a possible change, and I think that the players have to get on board and within the framework of the Players Association and say, yes, we agree with these changes.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing in a parallel conversation about targeting the college game. Kalishaw said it on our show. Nobody wants the college rule in the NFL. And then I had 3 panelists on that show raise their hand and say, I want the targeting rule that the college has in the NFL. Jackie, is that the way the NFL can evolve their game?
I think it's one of the ways. And I think the mistake everybody's making, too. So Woody goes back to look at Butkus. How big was Butkus? Not as big as these guys. The players today are bigger, faster, stronger. And so the force is bigger, faster, harder. And that, to me, is why when you compare eras, today's players are not the same. They're so much stronger, so much bigger. The hits are harder. All of that factors into this.
Pablo Torre after the one.
And I think there's something, too, to point out because he's a defensive player, right? Safety is inherently biased in favor of offense. That's just the dynamic of how these collisions work. So you're going to have a group of people, defensive players, who will feel like they're getting the short end of the stick, and they're absolutely right. It's just for a higher purpose at this point.
And Israel.
By the way, it's not crazy to think that a sport can be entertaining because of its athleticism without the violence. Like, I kind of like flag football. It's great. I'd watch these guys play flag football, so it's not crazy to think about.
Targeting rule, if it were to be applied to the NFL, show of hands, would you guys be in favor of it? Or do you think that also has some problems in it as far as the college game? Okay, all right, also true. Anybody would be in favor of a red card or a yellow card where you would eject a player for a certain amount of time during a game, if not the entire game?
Yes,
Yeah,
targeted
Americans would allow that.
Fouling out a player like in the NBA. I'm just coming up with some ideas here, just taking the temperature of the room here.
Remove the helmets. Play the game.
Remove the helmets like rugby? All right. I don't think we got to the answer there, but I think we're starting to work our way there. We're going to take a break right here. Rest of the day in sports in 2 minutes. Stick around. Still won, the Cleveland Browns firing their de facto GM, Sashi Brown. He was there 2 years. They went 1-27. He passed on Carson Wentz and Deshaun Watson. But, and I turn to you, Pablo Torre, since we now view things through the prism of a process, 6 extra draft picks, $100 million in cap room, certain number 1 and number 2 pick this year. Should Brown fans see the positive or negative, Woody?
I think it's a possibility that even though having been involved with somebody who once said, you're good 95% of the time, 5% of the time you're awful, that all the good was wasted by the fact that they haven't gotten a quarterback, and he passed on Wentz, and I just think that in the McCarron situation, it's time for him to go.
Gutierrez?
I think you can take advantage of what he has done. I think they should look at it positively. Yes, he has cleared all this cap space. He has created these draft picks for them. And maybe player evaluation, not really his strength. Maybe actually building the teams and acquiring the players, not his strength. So you bring somebody else to do it for him. I think they should look at it positively.
Are you saying his strength was camouflaged, Israel? Is that possible? Pablo Torre.
Bad news is that this is the same predictable story that we're used to in sports. A team does not have the cojones to go through with the plan that had been fully explained to them. We're going to be really bad to stockpile picks, to stockpile salary cap space, and then we're going to make our big move. Except now, they never have the stomach before the move comes, and so guess what? You get a worse version of the product you signed up for in the first place.
Jackie Mack.
And everyone's going to focus on Brown passing on those quarterbacks that you mentioned. But the rest of his draft history is actually pretty decent. Now, the McCarron debacle, I think, is the one that did him in because there was obviously a disconnect between the GM and the coaching staff and a disagreement there. And so those are the headlines that everybody remember. Someday they're going to look back and say, you know what? Sashi Brown really helped this franchise.
Buy or sell 2, Thursday Night Football. You guys want an X factor for Saints and Falcons? How about Julio Jones? How about Alvin Kamara?
Chick-fil-A.
Yes, Woody Page, Chick-fil-A. There you go. It's open finally for a Falcons home game. First of 2 meetings in the next 3 weeks, so remember that when you call tonight a must-win. Israel, what to buy, what to sell?
I'm selling the Falcons. I know they're the more desperate team, but Alvin Kamara is on fire right now. Mark Ingram is going to play. Cameron Jordan's been playing really well this year, and that Atlanta Falcons offensive line not exactly healthy, so I got the Saints.
PST?
I am going to buy stock in Julio Jones because even though the guy went from 240 some odd receiving yards to 20 some odd receiving yards, the fact is he's going up against a talented rookie cornerback in Marshawn Lattimore who happens to have an ankle problem right now. So count on the veteran to expose the young guy.
And you notice that deduction Pablo got.
I have
That's
a
for
portfolio.
buying stock.
I have a
Yes,
portfolio
you're buying stock like you're making chicken soup. Go ahead, Jackie McMullen.
You know, I think Julio Jones, Pablo, might be the most puzzling part of this entire NFL season. He's had 7 games where he's had under 75 yards receiving. This is for an elite receiver. I'm still going to take the Falcons at home because Israel used the word. They are desperate. They're going to win against it. I'm not convinced, even though the numbers tell me the Saints defense is pretty good, that they can stop Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Pablo.
Sounds like you're calling it a must-win for Atlanta, Jackie.
I am calling it a must-win.
Woody Page,
Go for it.
How about you?
I'm buying Bitcoins in the Atlanta Falcons. Dan Quinn has called for that crowd to be loud and boisterous tonight. They have it in the new building, and I think they're going to get their Chick-fil-A fix, and they're going to get behind the Falcons, and they'll win. Birds, get it? Foul.
Does anybody think Woody's ever said Bitcoin before? Like, that was the first time he's ever said it. He just wanted to make sure he got it out of
I'd
his
like
mouth.
to hear him explain what that is, but we probably don't have the time.
Buy or sell 3. Cavs 13 straight in a row consecutively. The win last night. LeBron is shooting 43% from 3. He's 34% coming into the season. That is just incredible. Up there. Celtics 22 of 24. 7th double-digit comeback of the year. So with both teams winning last night, got to ask you, Pablo, who's the better team right now?
The Celtics are a wonderful answer and would be an even better answer if LeBron James wasn't suddenly motivated to have an historic season right now. In the last 40 years, according to Basketball Reference, no one has gone 28-8-1-1. LeBron James is going 28-9-8-1-1. He is being particularly absurd, which is bad news for everyone else in the conference.
So LeBron's a better team then. Okay, good.
Correct.
Jackie Mack, Cavs or Celtics?
I think his former teammate, Kyrie Irving, has been almost equally insane for those Boston Celtics. But, and here's the but, the one thing I was waiting to see for with Cleveland was, can they get their defense together during this 13-game winning streak? Teams are shooting 32% from the three-point line against them, Tony. They were next to last before this winning streak started against that stat.
Good stat. Woody Page.
Jackie, you need to get in the forest so you can see the trees. The Celtics are right there. They've come back from double-digit deficits 7 times this season, and Irving scoring more points in crunch time than anybody else in the league. They've won without 2 players last night. Celtics.
I always wonder about those teams that come back from double digits. Is that a good thing that they're coming back to win, or is that a bad thing that they're down double digits to begin with? Israel, you're after the horn here. You better make some points quick.
I'll just answer that question. I'm always impressed by the teams that come back from double digits. It's the ultimate turn it off switch. So that's my answer there.
Well, Israel, we're giving you a bolt right here. You got our bathroom to go to. It's like we're not even going to know you're gone, though, because we never saw you to begin with. You just faded into those palm trees. Jackie Mack as well. We'll see you next time. Woody, Pablo, showdown. 2 minutes. Woody Page, Pablo Torre, good luck in showdown. We spent 2 weeks hearing who won't coach Tennessee. So Jeremy Pruitt, Alabama defensive coordinator, getting hired, deserves a showdown at least. Woody, what's he bringing to the table?
If you can't beat them, hire their coordinator. Georgia did it with Smart. Now they're doing it in Tennessee with Pruitt. He's had a top-line defense for the last 5 years at 3 schools.
He is a substantive hire. He's a really good recruiter, too. I just want to be on the record as predicting more chaos from this university. Like, great consolation prize. Still insane behind the scenes. So, good luck.
Chaos from Tennessee. We've come to expect that from their native son, Woody Page, who's getting the first point. Showdown 2. Hofstra Monmouth last night. Hoff down 2 with 2 seconds left. They had the 1 free throw coming. They missed it on purpose. The intentional missed tip play into the 3 wins it for Hofstra. I heard the coaches say they practice this and it never works. It worked in the game, Pablo. What's the best part?
The best part is they admitted that this is basically all luck. They had practiced it, as you said, never worked. Don't claim credit that's not yours. Credit the universe for giving you this gift, and they did.
If you practice it every day and they try trick plays in the NFL and they don't work until game time, when you're really, it is necessary in that situation. It's not all about luck, it's skill too.
Don't claim credit that's not yours, Pablo Torre. It's a good motto. As Woody Page takes the showdown. FaceTime, 30 seconds.
I want to go back to talking about the Cleveland Browns and their fans. They're getting involved in this possibility of going 0-16. What have they done? They've started a GoFundMe fund, and guess who's already donated more than $7,000, etc. Because everybody there has a headache. They're planning the parade on January 6th. Everybody loves a parade. Cleveland's going to have one if the Browns just continue to be incompetent and not win a game. I like that. I may go, be a grand marshal.
You're all in favor of incompetence leading to a parade. I knew you would be.
Parades are overrated.
What was that? 556.5 wins for you on this
Can
show?
we get off that half?
Wow. First fastest to 556.5. I don't know what we're going to do to get you off a half a win. What are we going to do?